Attention, stop making this stupid mistake if you're missing the golf ball left or right of your target. Hi everyone, my name's James and welcome back to Get Good at Golf. Today we're talking about irons and we're talking specifically about hitting your irons straighter. So we're going to talk about club face control, and if you want to hit better golf shots in 2025, which we are now in, so Happy New Year to you all. When's it okay to stop saying Happy New Year?
Ooh, next week.
Next week. But if you want to hit straighter, better golf shots, it's a really interesting one, this. I've got a 4-iron to show you here because we do lots of videos with 8-iron, 7-iron, 6-iron, but I want to show you how much I believe in this quite simple method, and it can really help you improve your golf. So initially what we will see is, say if someone stands at the golf ball here and they hit, say, a shot that goes left, and that's the shot that you hit all the time. So you think, right, well, I've struck that okay, it's not going a bad distance, it's up at like 190 yards, but it's gone left. How do I battle that? How do I stop doing that with my irons, especially my 4-iron? So a lot of people will say, right, well, what I want you to do here is I want you to open that club face up, because when the club face is open, if you make that same swing, the ball isn't going to go left. It's still gone left. You can see where I'm getting at here, and if we were to miss the golf ball right, for example, and this is the big one, this is where we see so many people, especially with a kind of low lofted golf club, who maybe slice the golf ball or block the golf ball out to the right. We see the people who hit that shot there. Oh, you know, I've struck that really well, and the ball started on target. That's the most frustrating thing in the world, that it started on target. Now, if the ball started on target, generally, your club face isn't too bad. So you can start to get yourself in a little bit of a muddle as to what you think you're doing wrong. Obviously, at this point, we would recommend go for a lesson with your local PGA Pro because they can help you. But if you want to try this tip, I pretty much think it might help you quite nicely. So, at address, we all know we want a nice square face. We don't want it open, we don't want it closed, we just want it facing that target. Now, if we were to stand at this golf ball correctly, I'd have a little bit of forward shaft lean. So essentially, if you do that too much, you'll see the club face does start to open even more. So it's important that we don't have too much forward shaft lean. It's also important we don't have the handle back, because as you can see, that's pointing left and it's adding loft to the club. So essentially, the shot we'd see from someone like this is that shot, where you stay back on your foot, they've struck it really well, my 4-iron's only gone 130 yards. That's so frustrating. I can hit my 9-iron that far. So if all your irons are going a similar distance, this could be something that could potentially help you. Now, once we have the club face correct at address, so statically, that club face is good. That club face hasn't moved anywhere and it's pointing towards the target. Let's try and recreate that at impact dynamically. So one of the big problems that I see on the way back here is when people will just open the club face up straight away. So the club face is pointing to the sky pretty much. Quite often that means that the club's worked inside and underplaying. We do see it sometimes where it works this way, but very, very rarely. Often you will see it where it kind of comes inside and open. This is something that I did for quite a long time and still do get sucked into at times. Now, the shot that you'll see from this is open, really handsy. Oh. And you think, well, how's James just hit that left when the club face is working open and you're talking about the club pointing to the sky and you opening the club on the way back? And it's quite simple in that the next shot that I hit, and this is where it could really resound with you guys, and it probably will resound with like Brett watching at home, so make sure you, and Bobby to be honest, because Bobby does this quite a lot, but the next shot where I fan it open can be that, where you're like, oh, you know what, I've nearly got that, it's done okay. The strike's difficult, but it's just to the right-hand side. Because when I open that club face up straight away from setup, what I start to see is a club that is being manipulated heavily with the hands. So from here, if this is inside and I'm whipping it open, don't get me wrong, if you're playing well on your day, you're the golfer who goes and shoots 75, 76. But the day after, you might shoot 85, 86. And the day after that, you might shoot 95, 96, because you're heavily relying upon how you can manipulate that golf club throughout the golf swing, not just through impact. But if you think, if I take a golf club away like this, if we were talking about kind of, if we're using hack motion and saying how many degrees that club face and wrist was open, that might be 30 degrees open. The next time I do it, it might be there. It might be 20 degrees open. The next time it might be here. It might be 60 degrees open. So then nobody in the world can then think, right, I know I have to do this with my wrist on the way down, because that's proving to be really, really difficult. Even the best players in the world have a takeaway, which we'll show you a little bit later on, which is nice and neutral. Neutral is the kind of word we're looking for. And just to prove what I'm saying there, if I stand here and hit a shot where I really open it this way, you can see that I can just about get away with one, even with the 4 iron. It's not the best strike, but it's running up there to 200 yards. It's in the middle of the fairway pretty much, because I can sort of just about try and flip it closed. Could I do that consistently? Absolutely not. The second takeaway that we see, and which one would you say is more prominent, Chris? This one or the next one?
I would say the one you've just done, but this one is becoming more and more common.
And it is, and I find this becomes more and more because people are trying to flight the golf ball lower and lower, trying to hit the ball a little bit further, and essentially that can lead to this takeaway that we're talking about. So if I do the opposite of what we've just done, and I take the club where it's closed on the way back, you can see that essentially here what that's doing is taking the club outside plane with a shut face pointing to the ground. Now, even if we did this on plane, for example, here, it's really difficult now to get a strike on that golf ball. It's not the same as when you take it away inside, because you're not necessarily going to be handsy. This is where your body might come into play a little bit more, and this is where you might hit the shot that nobody really wants to hit. So for example, if I take it away really closed here, and it pains me to do that, even to do it on purpose, but it's really, really difficult. You can look at the replay there, you can see how the body's really kind of working hard to try and open that club face up, and your body just gets in the way. So essentially what we're trying to do here is make sure that as I take the club away, I'm thinking, right, left arm, sternum, let's just keep the lower body nice and quiet and move that away here. Now, if I were to do that, the middle ground where I want to be is here. And I don't have to look at that to know that I've done it correctly, but I want the leading edge of the golf club and the sole of the golf club matching my spine angle. So from there, I know I can take it to the top of the backswing, and I know that if I have an okay dynamic sequence on the way down, look at that, exactly the same position, moving through the golf ball, it's square, where we said we wanted it right at the start of the video statically. We have the forward shaft lean, we can release the club out nicely. The beauty about this is as well, if you're a really, really top ball striker, if you hit the ball nice and straight more often than not, what you'll see is that from the top, that club stays square to your body, to the arc the whole time, even here. So you'll see there that you might feel like that's been held open, but actually it's still matching your spine angle. It's working around with your body, and it might have a little bit more release, but often not much more than that. So here's the proof in the pudding, because you can see the array of shots that we've had here. But if I can put that to practice, I can hit a pretty nice straight 4 iron that's carrying further and going to help you get good at golf. I'm really pleased when a plan works out.